Joining us now is Us For Them lobby group who stand for children's interests. Molly Kingsley, how are you, Molly? And also Chief Executive of Bright Blue, an independent think tank for promoting liberal conservatism, Ryan Shorthouse. Molly, let's come to you first. Being a mum is one of the most ultimate privileges, and being a father. I certainly had it very, very hard when I became a father. Didn't have any holidays, didn't have a new car, didn't have anything at all comfortable. But why on earth should the state pay for people to be parents? Surely it's their choice.
I understand that argument. I don't agree with it. I think as a society, we desperately need children. We need children who are educated, who are flourishing, who are secure, and whatever that looks like. And I don't think there's a one size fits all, even for each child in each family, let alone across families and children. But whatever that looks like, parents need to be supported to nurture and love and educate and bring up their children well. Because if not, apart from, the fact that it's dire and detrimental for the child, it's also a cost and a burden on the state. The last thing we want is children who haven't been raised well, who are not happy, because we know that stores up problem later down the line.
Ryan, what's your take on this? It's got to be said, we asked GB News viewers for their take on this earlier on, and it has to be said, most of them are against this idea. They're very much of the mind that if you choose to have children, then you should be picking up the cost. What's your take on it?
Well, I think children are a private and a public good. They have lots of benefits for the rest of us. And therefore, it's right that the state should support parents, and the state can do that either through benefits, and does that through child benefit at the moment, for example, or it could do it through the tax system. Now, recently the government has extended the amount of childcare support for children under the age of 3, right from the age of 9 months, and that is gradually coming in. And look, nobody says, why is the state subsidising primary or secondary school education? And my view is that preschool education before the age of 5 is a vital part of the education system, if not one of the most important parts of the education system, because actually there's lots of evidence showing that you make the most difference to a child's development, cognitive and non-cognitive, in those early years. So of course it's right that the state supports the educational and social flourishing of children at secondary, primary and at preschool level.
Do you think, Ryan, that a better example is set by Scandinavian countries like Finland and Sweden?
Well, I sort of sympathise with Miriam, because I think the government has done a good job of subsidising formal childcare now from 9 months. I think there's still an affordability issue, but the question is not whether the state should subsidise childcare, but the extent it does. And I think there's more innovative solutions above and beyond the free hours that they're offering. But I also agree with Miriam that one-earner couples, for example, where someone chooses to stay at home, are not particularly well supported by benefits and tax in this country. So, for example, can you front-load child benefit so parents who get it in their teenage years can actually take it in the earliest years of their child's life? Or, for example, maternity and paternity pay, the statutory amounts at the moment are about 150 quid a week, which is not very much at all. So perhaps that should be extended and expanded, particularly in the early years of a child's life, to support parents who want to stay at home. So the crucial thing is choice. But if you're asking me whether the state government should support children and spend on children, of course they should. It's one of the most important things in life.
Okay, let's coming back to you now, Molly. I want to read out a view from Sean. I asked for opinions on this. Hundreds and hundreds of people have got in touch. And she says, absolutely not. Why should I pay? My son doesn't have any children, so why should he pay? If you can't afford to have children and their upkeep, please don't have them in the first place.
Well, where does that get you as a society 30 years from now? I mean, it's a very sad view that we're not going to support people rearing children, because children are the future of our society. I mean, I know it sounds really trite to say that, but it is true. And I think this isn't, I think as we've said, support is given. So it's totally unrealistic to say we're just not supporting parents to have kids at all. That's not the status quo now. No one is suggesting that. No politician would dare suggest that. So we're not talking about support or not support. We're talking about the most efficient and beneficial form of support for both the child and the family. There's one other point here, I think, that we've not talked about, which I think is a really interesting thought on the choice and the flexibility, which is grandparents. Because I think, we can all agree that in an ideal situation, parents would be very involved with kids. The reality is many parents have to work full time. So we are talking about full-time nursery. But actually, why not incentivize and reward grandparents who have more time and have so much to give to children too?
But unfortunately, your grandparents don't always live nearby, do they? They can be miles and miles away.
Yeah.
No, well, actually, but that's something that support, we could be far more innovative and creative about the kind of support we give so that it actually works for families. You probably find it was far cheaper than funding these kind of very vanilla McDonald's nurseries as well.
Okay, Molly and Ryan, we're going to have to leave it there. And it has to be said that the views continue to pour in, and it has to be said that most people aren't in agreement with this idea of endless state